Now we have newly released documents kept secret by the government for years reveal disturbing details about massive surveillance by the NSA. It repeatedly broke privacy rules and promised a secret court that it would stop the process, then going ahead and do it again and again and again. Judge Anna Napolitano, Fox News senior judicial analyst, you're our watchdog on this, Judge. Good day to you.
Good day to you, Bill.
Why do we have these documents now?
We have these documents now because they've been surreptitiously released by people, and we don't know the sources of them. These are not Edward Snowden documents. People who are concerned that the NSA is violating the Constitution, violating federal law, and even violating the rules of the court that supposedly supervise it. I don't know who these people are. I don't know if they're NSA people.
All right, so it was brought to the NSA's attention that this was not to be allowed.
Yes.
And what did the NSA do other than ignore it repeatedly?
Well, basically, Bill, when you have a court, and I'm going like this with my fingers in quotation marks, where there's no adversary, no person who challenges you, and when the court's only information is what you tell the court, and when your work is done in secret and you have no obligation to be accountable for your work, you have a tendency to do what you want. And so the NSA will just keep saying, yes, thank you, please thank you to the court, and it will go on and keep doing whatever it's doing. And so the court has no way of knowing what the NSA is doing.
NSA reports on itself?
Yes. Isn't that ridiculous?
Always?
This is the biggest spy agency on the planet. These people are spying on the telephone, email, text, utility bills, and banking records of everyone in the United States, and we rely on them to tell us what they're doing. There's no inspector general, and there's no adversary in court to challenge what they do.
You call these silly, putty legal theories that the NSA is hiding behind. Is that the excuse, the rationale? What is that?
Yes. The silly, putty legal theories are that the NSA can do whatever it can persuade the FISA court can do. My take is the FISA court is not even a real court. It is filled with federal judges, but they are not performing the judicial function. They are acting as clerical officials, basically saying this meets the standard, this does not meet the standard, because under the Constitution, a court requires a case or controversy and an adversary, somebody to resist what the government wants.
Is there recourse on this? Or is the system the way it is?
The recourse is political. The recourse is to persuade Congress to clip the NSA's wings by taking some of its budget away from it. And that almost happened a few months ago, and it may happen after the first of the year.
Interesting. Stay on it, okay? I know you're all over this.
Say hello to that beautiful young woman seated next to you.
We'll do.
Thanks, Judge. I can hear you.
Hello, beautiful young woman.
Hello to you.
Thank you, Judge. See you soon.
Thanks so much. Well, the White House trying to recover from criticism for a string of NSA spying revelations. President Obama this week calling for a full review of federal surveillance programs after reports that the spy agency monitored the cell phone of the German chancellor and dozens of other, allies, world leaders that are friends with. The Senate Intel Committee also vowing to investigate. Judge Anna Napolitano is Fox News senior judicial analyst. You heard his laugh just a few moments ago.
Over the costumes.
Yes, over the costumes. I'm sure you have yours ready to go.
Ready to go.
All right, so the NSA and the president now saying they're going to take a step back. Your thoughts?
The NSA is utterly out of control, and either the president doesn't know what they're doing, in which case he's not in charge of the executive branch, or he's misleading the American public when he said he didn't know that they were spying on Angela Merkel. Turns out they were also tape recording the papal conclave that elected Pope Francis as Pope 4 months ago. What conceivable national security or intelligence reason would there be for that?
I saw that, and now the Italian newspapers are saying that that is, absolutely not true at all, although it was a headline grabber, because what information could they possibly get out of that? But what do you make of the fact that, on the one hand, I know you don't agree with the Patriot Act, right?
Right.
Okay. So, but on the one hand, you have some politicians who were in favor of the Patriot Act, but now they say, wow, this has really gone way too far.
Well, the reason it's gone too far, and I understand understand them. I disagreed with what the Patriot Act permits because it lets federal agents write their own search warrants, and it gives an impetus for federal judges to allow this secret surveillance. But the authors of the Patriot Act never thought it would go as far as it's gone. This is the problem with government and secrecy. It's a secret court, and the reports are only to 8 members of Congress who are sworn to secrecy, and the president obviously is not going to spill the beans unless somebody like Snowden forces his hand. Government in secrecy does whatever it wants to do because it knows it's not accountable, because it believes we can't watch it and we'll never learn what it's doing.
Well, speaking of potential overreach, in the wake of all these NSA spying revelations, renewed debate now over an effort to equip cars with these little black boxes. They're supposed to keep track of your miles, help you calculate fuel tax. But concerns, Judge, are what in your mind?
This is the states imitating the federal government. The federal government monitors us in secret and gets away with it. Now the states want to put a black box in each of our cars so it can tax us for the time we spend driving. This not only records your mileage, it records where you go, it records how long you're there, it records how long you idle, it records your miles per gallon, it records whether or not you stopped at a stoplight. Do you really want to get a ticket 3 years later saying, oh, Ms. Carlson, you failed to stop at the stoplight at 6th Avenue and 47th Street 4 years ago?
Yeah, well, I already got a ticket for going too fast through a toll booth. I didn't even know that they could catch me doing that. But other people are concerned with the fact that you'll now be paying for the amount of time that you're driving. Is that fair?
It is not fair, because the government is going to try and sell this to us with the idea that the money that you pay will be used to keep up the roads. That is not true. Just like the gas tax that we pay today, the money collected on these black boxes will go directly to government coffers. It's nothing but more money for the bureaucrats to spend. The holes will have the same potholes, and the roads will have the same potholes in them they have now.
Thanks very much.
And our privacy will be invaded in the process.
All right, Judge, always great to see you.
Pleasure.
The ethics commissioner can only do her job if the government ministers actually provide her accurate information. And we know that didn't happen because the finance minister was fined for breaking the law. Now, yesterday he said that the problem is that other people just don't understand how it works. Right. Well, we know how it's supposed to work. Finance ministers should not be able to have direct control over assets that they own while they regulate and legislate in those very areas that their companies operate in. So a very simple question for the Prime Minister. When was he made aware that the finance minister still owns shares in Morneau Chappelle?
Right Honourable Prime Minister. Again, Mr. Speaker, the members of this House of Commons rely on the excellent work done by the Commissioner to ensure that all the rules are followed, that all the safeguards are in place to uphold the highest level of trust that Canadians have given to each of the 338 members who sit in this House. The personal and nasty attacks by the members opposite to try and lower Canadians' confidence in our institutions is quite frankly what they rejected after 10 years of that.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition Order, Allard.
We rely on the Ethics Commissioner to do her job, and she relies on ministers of the Crown to be honest and open with what they and that's something that this finance minister has failed to do. So again, to the Prime Minister, on what date was he made aware that the finance minister failed to disclose his corporation in France?
Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, once again, we hear from these Conservatives thinly veiled attacks on the quality of work done by the Ethics Commissioner, which, quite frankly, is no surprise, because for 10 years, those members were part of a government that attacked the Elections Commissioner, that attacked Supreme Court justices, that attacked information commissioners, privacy commissioners, that attacked the parliamentary budget officer, that attacked anyone who got in their way of ramming through their views of things. We respect Parliament.
Order, I'd ask. ask the member for the Banff Airdrie and others not to be talking or yelling when someone else has the floor. The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Mr. Speaker, the only people in this House right now that don't respect the work of the Ethics Commissioner are the ministers of the Crown and the Finance Minister, who failed to disclose, who hid his corporation in France, and who has now been fined for breaking the law. Now, he has failed to be open about his many assets. He has failed to answer simple questions about what he owns and why he structured it in the way he has. We're still going to ask some very simple questions. Can the Prime Minister tell us if the Ethics Commissioner has been informed of the Finance Minister's recusals from the 2 meetings that he claims that he recused himself?
Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, as I've done a couple of times, but I think it's important to do, particularly today when so many young people are in this House today watching the workings of our Parliament, is to explain that it is perfectly normal and even important for the opposition to be asking difficult questions of a government. That's at the core of what we have as a government. But it's also, because of the nature of those attacks, important to have independent commissioners in which we can all have confidence to ensure that the rules are followed in the appropriate manner. That is what we is always doing. What is coming from the opposition is noise.